Hello everyone and welcome to the LightBringers Podcast, episode 8 of season 3. Today we're going to be talking about the latest story, Through the Veil, or as the Crown Herald likes to say. Silence is golden.
Well done.
See, I thought that was quite good. Comedic timing.
Speaks volumes.
It speaks volumes. We're going to be punny today. That's what it's about. We're also going to be talking about weapons as well, because we've got some exciting new weapon overviews as well. Hello chat, hello stream. If you're here or live, thank you very much for joining us on Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific. Otherwise, if you are not, then why aren't you here? Because you should be. There's the camera. It's not there. It's there this time. Also, if you want to join the LightBringers Guild, in the description below, there will be a document where you can join our guild. You can join it as a fun chat if you want in EU, but it's mostly NA. We're starting to move all our people from Discord on LightBringers to my own community specifically, so we're kind of putting things together now because it makes more sense.
Everybody on Discord.
Everyone on Discord. Not Twitter, Discord or X.
Everybody on Discord
Cheesecake.
now is getting moved to Jebro's community. Every account.
Every single person. That's a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a large migration, but I think we could pull it off. Let's
migration.
Force Discord. Nobody complains.
That'll be fun.
Exodus.
Okay, we got some guests as well. They're going to tell us a little bit about themselves before we do start today. Astral is back. It's been a while since we've seen Astral. How you doing, my friend? Can you tell us what you do and what you do with? That would be
Doing well, yeah. I stream on Twitch. I post daily lore on Twitter, and I am slowly making YouTube videos in my free time as I raise my kids. So not a lot of that time, but
Nice.
Yeah, I'm Astral. I am around. You can find me everywhere under Astral Legend.
wicked, concise, excellent introduction. Welcome back as well. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
That was more professional than any intro any of us on
I think
LightBringers
so.
have ever done before.
I actually think so. It
Yeah.
could literally be the best one we've had. Boots
We
is
can't
about
top
to
it,
show
so we
you
might
up.
as well stop there, right? Like not do any more.
That's it. We're done.
Boots.
Thanks everybody for watching Lightbringers episode 58 of season 2.
That's right.
I don't know if
Why
that's
would I
true.
put season 7 in the document? It's like, no, we're not that far. I just do it
Is-
when there's like new stuff, like when there's significant change in the game. I'm like, that's the new season. Let's just do that.
That's it. Follow it.
There's no rule. It's just like, oh, there's an expansion now. Well, we can do that every single time now because we can be like, season 4. Like now it works. It works. Could have done it during Living World, but hey, it was too late for that. It's okay.
Yep.
Boots, did you do an intro?
Yeah, just now. You don't remember?
You just said
Didn't hear
welcome. Boots World of Enders on Twitter, X, or whatever the flip you want to call it. Also, many adventure videos. Boots is going nuts on the.
Yeah, so I pre-recorded a bunch and like made the videos and uploaded them and have them scheduled to go out. I had them scheduled to
That's
go out
smart.
every second day.
Wow, why?
And then after about 2 weeks of that happening, I noticed that people were unsubscribing because they were coming out too often and they didn't like seeing them in their feed. So now they're coming out every 3 days. Everybody loves
you
adventures.
should have just
right,
done it every
everybody?
week. The thing is, when you don't have any content, and then you suddenly bring out a load, like people are like,
I
what's
know.
happening?
It's like,
And then
oh
you stop
yeah,
again.
I remember that person I subscribed to 10 years ago. I forgot they were making videos. Let's I don't need that anymore. Yeah,
Well,
there you go.
congratulations.
There you go. So every
on
3 days.
remembering how to YouTube.
Series ending with the heat of the universe. That's the same. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There are like 92 adventures or something like that. There's a lot.
A lot of adventures.
There's a huge amount.
Well, at least
Yeah.
you've got
Like Bilbo only had one.
you got to do.
You got him way topped.
Yeah.
Okay, Fornex. Hello, how you doing? What's going on? Welcome.
Hey,
Intro.
I'm Fornex. Yeah, the Crown Herald. I make content over on YouTube. Not like for the past couple of weeks, but I do occasionally. So please do check out my channel. Yeah, that's it.
Eli Boots.
That's
though,
all
when
it
you
is.
when you release it all at the same time. Not
I do
euphemism.
tend to do it in like bursts. So
Oh,
yeah.
you're a bursty one as well. Okay, I get it.
please nobody clip that. Please nobody clip that. Yes, yes, no, fine. Yeah, carry on. No, it's fine. Carry on.
So
Start as you mean to go on.
I always try to. Yes, twitch.tv/JebroUnity is where you can catch me and the LightBringers Podcast on a Friday, and also we have YouTube. I also have the podcast. If you are live watching us right now, you can do !podcast, get a link to that. Otherwise, anchor.fm/JebroUnity as well. You can Google us and find us anywhere on one of your favorite podcasting channels. Make sure you check us a review as well, 5-star rating, whatever you want to do. That would be lovely to help the algorithms on all the things, like, comment, subscribe if you do want to on YouTube as well as on Twitch and all the things. We were going to do this last week, but I unfortunately had to go to the doctor's and it was very delayed, so I am sorry that we didn't come last week.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I think I'm okay.
I think he's alive.
You look great.
Alive. I look great.
You look great.
Before you said that to me today.
Yeah, before we started today, I told Jebro I love your haircut, and he said I don't know what you're talking about, and it was embarrassing for me. But we're moving past it now, and I'm not bringing it up on. Oh wait, no, too late. All right.
We're doing good. I appreciate the compliment, or the attempt at the compliment. Anyway, yes, story time. I'm waiting for Fornax's. First of all, Boots is here when we're talking about story at the beginning, which is great because Boots is like, last time we were talking about this, Boots literally couldn't hold it.
I wanted to talk about something. It wasn't even story spoilers, but you were like, no. Anything tangentially related with the story. If any character says a word that you mention in this episode, you're cut from the show from all time. And so I couldn't say the word the entire time we were there. It was really unfortunate.
I was about to make the same joke.
we put Boots into the cobbler. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
No, I'll show you. Okay. So
forensically accurate description of what happened. Yes, absolutely.
Do you still have the screenshots that I think so. They're in the chat. I think.
In the chat.
In some chat. They should be in the chat. In our other chat.
Can you DM
Yeah. They're in the podcast chat.
Oh, okay. I can't bring it up.
You can't bring it. What do you mean you can't bring it up?
If I bring it up,
I'll link it.
It buggers all the things.
Where can I send it to you so you could just look at them?
DM in our group chat or to me. There you go.
I did already. They're there.
Yeah, but I can't bring it up on my other Discord to put in, so I have to. Otherwise it moves me. Okay, I've got the Herald's one. Of Tyria.
And the other one too. Yeah. Anyway, the point is. All I wanted to talk about last time, it's not even really about the story. It was that there's 2 lines in the story that make me think.
Don't take that completely out of context. There's actually 7 lines in the whole story.
Well, no, there's 2 lines though in the story that.
Fuck! I believe them.
That make.
Sorry, it is close enough. Sorry, carry on.
So one positive thing I'd like to talk about in the story is related to this, is that
we've got to start the podcast first.
I do like the way that the cryptists talk about their experience and about Nyos and about the world and how they experience it.
Okay.
In such a way that it's a little alien, which is nice. And also, there's like little tiny breadcrumbs that kind of lead you to speculate about the nature of their world and stuff. And that's what I'm trying to talk about here. And it's so Irja some point is a character we haven't been introduced to yet because we haven't talked about the story yet.
Can we get to it? Fine. Like, we haven't started yet. You're going way ahead.
Is it way ahead?
You also used the word the at least once. So
I said
you have to
you're allowed to say word this week because it's spoilers. So first of all, spoilers. If you have not played the latest update Through the Veil, chapters 12 to 14, 14,
11 to 13, I think.
Do not listen or watch anymore if you don't care about spoilers. That's also fine. Yes, chapter 11, 12, 13. And Yes.
No. What you need to do is you need to stop listening now and then come back, and we'll be waiting for you. We've got 5 minutes,
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
we
true.
can wait.
Oh my god.
Shots fired.
So this first episode starts with talking to Fred. And we end up doing some bits and bobs. I mean, maybe we don't need to do a general overview of how we thought the story was, because that might just be the whole podcast. But not a whole podcast, that might be the whole story. But how do you think this started? Like, I mean, where we left off, I felt was kind of okay. Like, it was just like we were kind of looking forward to more. It kind of felt like there was some kind of resolution in terms of, you know, we've got Isgaran with us, we've got what's her face, Payfor with us. We know what we need to do, and then we kind of start this episode as needing to go to Nios, right? That's what we want to do. And then things kind of change and devolve from there. How was this part of the story for you all?
It's not bad. I mean, it's really short. I think that's the major issue. And I think that they have this issue of introducing characters and then immediately wanting to kill them off. And there's not a lot of build-up. I think that the content of the map itself is really fun. I really enjoy what we've seen of Nios and the events that are there and how active the map is. I also appreciate how short the meta is, given all of the previous metas we've been getting recently, which tend to run, 30, 45 minutes or even longer sometimes. And this one is like 15, which I really appreciate. I expect that it'll get longer as the map expands, like we did with Drizzlewood. But I like the content. I like convergences. I think they're a nice farm, especially if you want to get legendary armor. They're a good farm for that.
Wait, so
but the actual story is
Me?
I am playing.
I'm not typing at all. Does it look like I'm typing?
We can hear you.
Try to guess who the typer is who doesn't have their hands in the air right now.
Harold.
Yeah.
You type? Who's typing furiously?
It's Boots. Obviously, he just threw me right under the bus. It's fine. It's fine.
Trolling.
I'm comfortable. Yeah, that's fine.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. I could see you can't. You have a poker face on right now, but I know it's you, Fornax. I know it's
you
you.
can see their hands as well.
I'm
You can
posting on Twitter. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yep.
You right? Did someone DM you and was like, "How do you feel about the story?" And you're just like, venting.
I'm currently.
Here's my novel that is longer than this episode.
Yeah, War and Peace is what I'm typing right now. I
mean,
so
we can maybe what we should do is go through the story parts and then give thoughts as we go on these specific parts. Would that work?
Yeah, I think you specifically asked how we all felt about the kind of initial the inciting incident. So I liked the interactions between Payfor and Isgaran. I liked it at the end of the story. I found it was very nice. It was very mature dialogue. It's very politic, as it were, their interactions, and I liked it. And I liked his no forks given about the fact that all the demons are going to die. Oh, sad day for you, darling. That was great. That was an appropriate response. And I liked it.
Yeah.
And there's a few funny things happen. So like we have a conversation before we head off with Payfor into the demon realm, and it's like, do you trust her? And my character said yes, and I said no, I do not trust her. Right? Not with white mice would I trust her. So yeah, it was a nice, interesting.
Means.
I've never heard that.
Sorry, I wouldn't trust. Sorry, yeah, I guess
like
very
lab rats, or
say white
like
mice?
I wouldn't trust
white
them.
Mice.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust them to care for white mice. I wouldn't give them any responsibility over anybody. It's kind of I guess
are
it's a
white
British
mice
colloquialism.
notoriously good at taking care of themselves, or
Like, are they?
Yes, they are.
Are
They're
you trusting
incredibly
them with like
easy.
the 3 blind mice? Are you trying to guide them?
I come from an old culture, guys. I don't know what to say.
No, I heard that.
Sorry. So you see. So it's just I wouldn't trust them with anything. No trust. No trust given. Right. I wouldn't trust them to water my plants, let alone entrust them with the life of everyone that I would care
plants
about.
is hard. Okay, I'm just saying.
I mean, I
just
definitely
need a
wouldn't trust them
stabby
with
thing.
plants because like everything in Nyos is fleshy and plants are not.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I don't think
don't
they'd
want
understand how to take care of them.
True.
Don't want that to be a thing.
Are we allowed to talk about Nyos now?
We're
And-
on this part of the story. If you're watching the stream, you might be able to even check it out. I've also linked the story playthrough if you want to watch along.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
liked it, and I liked the portal thing that happened, and I liked
Yeah.
the kind of they're actually in the Wizard's Tower now, which kind of felt like an escalation of the threat. I liked that. I liked that we had to battle through. It
And
was
catch up with
fine. I
Zojo.
liked. Yeah, I liked his Garen's skepticism. Zoju was it was well done because I felt like an emotional disconnect, and it was uncomfortable to talk to her. So that was really well written.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's true.
It's true. This chapter 11 of the new releases is the strongest chapter. It's also the longest chapter. Not much combat. I mean, a little bit of combat, I guess. You've got the initial invasion from the portal. Then you go in the portal and fight something in there. So yeah, I'd say all in all, it was a solid chapter. I'd say it was probably the best.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking about something else and I just said it out loud. My bad.
And then there's two more, and the other two are unfortunately like the chapter 12. I think is an instance where you go in and talk to some people at the camp for like 30 seconds, and then you do events on the map, and that's the whole chapter.
Yep.
Is that chapter 13? Yeah,
That's chapter 12.
Chapter 12.
Oh,
Chapter
okay.
13 is even shorter than that.
This one I really liked. Like I liked the invasion, like Crown Herald said. Like we were just going there anyway, and then now it's like, oh well, we might as well jump through, like and go. But there was a lot of them. Like, and I did enjoy this chapter. I think you're right as well, Crown
It was a
Herald.
good introduction.
Like, I did. I genuinely like. I actually the whole story I actually really enjoyed. I think because I enjoy having shorter stories so I can feel like it's more impactful on me. I enjoy that more than being really like kind of long and drawn out, which I feel like they've done before.
Do you kind of like
I switch
tune?
off.
Like, do you like? Is it hard for you to concentrate if it's a long thing of people talking?
If it's just long people talking the whole time, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Like I have really my focus goes. And but also not always. If it's engaging, then it's fine. Like, but I do find sometimes you can, like, there's some unnecessary parts in it, and I think like being able to talk to people after is a good option rather than them just giving you all of their history and stuff in there. So I like that. I like that when it happens. But yeah, we went through the portal and went to Nyos, and this is the area where the meta is, right? I think. Yes.
Yeah,
Strike.
Internos is where the meta is. When you go through the portal, you
Not
get
meta,
into
sorry.
the convergences.
Convergences. Yes. That's what
Yeah.
convergences
Yeah,
are.
that's
They introduce convergences, but they don't explain convergences. That was one big issue that I had, is that they don't explain what this is. You just fight this wyvern-like Cryptus, and then they don't even tell you that convergences are now available, and you can play them in the Wizard's Tower. They
Yeah.
also do a poor job of explaining how to get to them, when to get to them. Like, I'm glad the community has figured it out for the most part, but it's not well explained at all. I missed it for the first few days because I had no idea.
Question.
Oh, you missed
To me,
it
this-
completely? What, convergences?
Ooh,
Yeah, for like
you
the first 2 or 3 days, and that, like, I knew they were supposed to be there, but I didn't know how to get to them.
Oh my god!
They don't explain where.
Oh Jesus! Okay.
Shit.
Actually, that's no. If I hadn't have like purposely searched them out, I wouldn't have known where to go. That's actually a good
Right,
point.
I had to go do that. I was like, where are the
Actually a good
convergences?
point.
And I was like, they mentioned in one of the blogs that they were going to introduce the idea of convergences in the story. But that instance you're talking about, where we go in through the portal right off the bat, is the introduction, quote unquote, to convergences. They don't explain that at all. Like, they don't tell you, hey, that's it. Like, that's how we're introducing them, or how to get there afterwards. Which I thought was a big
it just
issue.
feels like a strike. It just feels like a strike.
Convergences
that
are
you
fine.
have to use a reagent for it. Just
It feels like kind of an upgrade, in my opinion, to Dragonstorm. There's some variation on it. There's you need a little bit more coordination than in Dragonstorm. Like Dragonstorm can be done with 5 to 10 people in a private one.
Yeah.
This one you're going to need a lot more, and you're going to need to like spread out. There's more variation in the bosses. They're planning to add more bosses too. Right now I think there's only 2, or I've only seen 2 at least. But I've seen groups fail on the Sorrow, which is the wyvern like one, because it is tough. I appreciate how much of a challenge that some of these bosses are.
Yeah, generally people fail because they forget to heal Zoja.
Yeah, I think that might be the only way to fail, is if you don't heal Zoja.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing. I do them when I've only done them twice, but when I
it's hard to fail because, like, if you have anybody directing you, and if anybody listens to the person directing, they direct them to heal Zoja, and that's the only important thing to do, really. Yeah.
Okay.
I think also the community is really good at self-organizing at this point. I mean, having to do massive open world bosses like the Shatter and things like that, and Tequatl, you kind of automatically write. Some people go over this north points of the map and off you pop, and it seemed quite concise and reasonable. And when I say that, I feel like it feels like a strike or an evolution of Dragonstorm. There's no insult involved. It's just, it feels like that, and it feels a bit disconnected. That you have to use a reagent to open these things rather than it just being a strike that you can do as you wish. And I guess they want to integrate it more into the story, which is fine. And I don't have bad things to say. I know that some people were kind of disappointed that they didn't get an interesting new character model for these convergences. At the moment, we have a dragon, and it looks like, I like the Wyvern. This is no shade, and I'm happy for them to keep their powder dry when it comes to economical use of assets. But I know that people have been a bit like, oh well, I was hoping for something like we have Neos thing, which is eyes and tentacles, and gosh, that would have been like amazing if we had something like that. But
I think that fight was good as well. Actually, to be fair. I actually think the fight was really good. It was fun. Like when they do the Sorrow boss and they're flapping the wings. Yeah, and they put you in the air, and like it feels really like, I don't know, it feels good. I like it.
Yeah.
It was a good fight. Okay. Yeah. So we go into there, we in Nios, and then we found out it's Fro's daughter, right? Not sister. I was about to say sister. But we're with Paitha, and now I'm starting to remember the rest of the episode, and there are some really, really, really good pieces of story in here about individual characters, especially of the Cryptists. Like when we start to meet some of the Cryptists and talk to them, especially when we go between. There's one part which we'll get to later. I won't go ahead of myself, but. Okay, so she's walking down the steps. We're in Nios. We go and talk to. Oh, that's right. We've got to get to the camp, and we start defending versus some of these events. And then we see. What's her name? I can't see. It's too small. Arena.
Arena. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And
she's. Guess what her last name is?
Arena.
Rhodes' daughter.
Net.
Oh no. Jesus. There we are.
I'm sorry.
Well done.
It's okay, you're allowed.
It's not that well done.
No, it's pretty good.
Wasn't too bad. And so we're at the camp, and we save the camp from all. There was actually a lot of fighting in this part as well. Who is this general guy as well? She's
Ramses?
Yeah, Ramses, that guy.
So yeah, Ramses has some. The way he talks is very intriguing and interesting to me, and especially like, I don't know if it's just his character and how Cryptists are. Yeah. But the way he, when Paitha first comes in and he talks about how she smells and talks about how she's acting, it really sounds like it could just be that's Ramses, man. Just let him do his thing. But at the same time, it really sounds like he's hinting at something about Paitha that's something that's a secret to us right now. Like when we first, I don't know, I think Ramses is talking about Paitha when we first come in. He says that you smell of excitement or is that fear? I'm not sure. And which is odd if it was Patha or... I mean, it makes a little bit of sense if it's us because we're just meeting these people for the first time and we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But if it's Patha, which it looked like it was, it is odd because she knows Ramses. She knows Arena and the other people here. And she seems very calm coming towards them. So why would the excitement and fear be in Patha at that moment? Is she hiding something? And then again, he says something similar later on too. So I'm wondering about what Ramses' deal is.
Yeah, I don't think it's just Ramses being a weirdo, though. I do think that that's a normal Cryptus thing, them being able to smell the emotions.
Oh, sure, yeah.
One, they feed on them.
Yeah.
Two, I think it's Eparch in the primary story of Soto that if your character has killed Deimos, says like you smell like Deimos or you smell of him.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. So I think that's a very normal thing for them to quote unquote smell and maybe it's a different sense that like because of it's of emotion, maybe it's a different sense that just like English doesn't have a word for is the idea behind it, so they use smell. But I don't think that that's abnormal.
It's definitely how they communicate with each other a lot.
Yeah
Just talking about what emotions they smell of. Yeah.
I think it's the extreme version of you are what you eat, right? So if she has been passively feeding on all the people around her, and we've just come through a portal, we're probably anxious. We've just had this breach of the Wizard's Tower that was previously unassailable, and now we're starting on this very perilous campaign into a new world. And when we get there, there's an interesting thing where we're stifled by the environment. We're taken aback. This is like when you first step off a plane into like a new country. You do get that kind of, wow, things feel different. They smell different. There's different signs. There's a different sense. I remember experiencing this when I went to Africa when I was a small kid, and I felt like I just walked. I'm from the north of England, so it's like sub-zero, and I felt like I was walking into a wall of heat, and it was just astonishing. And I kind of get that that's the kind of experience we're having. We're just like acclimatizing to this new realm, which is incredibly, deeply, profoundly alien. And I like that. And I think that they've done a lot of nice show, not tell of our reactions to it, which is always good.
By the way, we passed over it really quickly, but I forgot to bring up something that I was thinking about from before. Remember a few episodes ago we were talking about Frode from the first set of the story, and how we were all like, what's the deal? He doesn't care about his daughter that much, it seems. And I was like, well, don't you go through a thing when you become part of the Wizard's Tower and you lose your memories of people, and maybe that has something to do with it? And then you guys said, no, he didn't go through that. Well, apparently he did.
I wasn't here for this, but I don't think that he could have, because the ascension that causes the memory loss is the ascent to become wizard. The most recent wizard before Zoja was Lear, and that was 250 years ago. Frode joined the Astral Ward and is part of the Astral Ward, but they don't lose their memories. They get to keep them. That's why Zoja remembers, even though she was a part of the Astral Ward. I'm going to have to
come back to this, though, because there was a line that one of the characters said, talking about Arena and him, that made it really sound like he did stop caring about Arena a little bit when he almost completely forgot about her when something happened. And I thought it was because of some sort of ascension going on.
Well, but it's also tough because she's also part of the Astral Ward. So why would he forget? I mean, I guess he could theoretically forget the connection that they have, but it's not like he entirely forgot about her, because she was around until the start of Soto, where she got lost in Nyos, and then we find her again still alive. We assumed that she died when she got sucked in.
I remember it's somewhere in the text. I remember there was something about he was having a conversation with someone about the fact that his daughter joined, and I remember that he had a lot of angst about her joining this crusade. I think there might have been some relief, because obviously life expectancy and the disjointedness, you're going to leave your relatives behind, and they are going to pass, and you are going to continue because you're in this kind of altered temporal state. And I remember that he had some angst about her joining. It was kind of ambiguous because he was pleased that he would be having a relationship with her, but terrified of the threat that she would face and the fact that she wasn't going to have this normal existence for a non. And so I'd be interesting to see which text you're referring to. I'd love to analyze
anyway,
that.
we can move on until I find it.
Okay.
Well, and it also, at least at the start of this episode, it's implied by your character that he does still care, because when you're talking to Isgaren and you find out that Arena is still alive, or that Paitha is at least saying she's alive, you're like, have we told Frode? Does he know? Like, should we tell him? Because it could, like, throw off his game if he's now incredibly concerned about his daughter still being alive, and he may need to go on a rescue mission or whatever. But it's implied at least that he still cares, based on your character's reaction to the news.
Yeah.
It's also shady that Isgaren doesn't tell him. That is
That's
like
also that's true. That's a good
you
point.
think you
Isgaren
are? That's disgraceful.
But I feel like Isgaren feels like he's God, right? Like he has all the power. Yeah. He can literally write fractals and like create life in the however long it takes him. Who knows? It could be the snap of his fingers. It could be months to years to centuries. But you know, he's creating life, and he can do what he wants, basically. What does he care about?
Definitely a guy for the Hague. Definitely a guy for the Hague. Totally.
Okay.
Good character, though.
What, Ramses? Yeah, Ramses is very interesting, for sure. Okay. Actually, with pretty much the end of that chapter, there was like, we were talking to Ramses, we were defending the camp, we talked to Arena, we found out dreams further. I'm watching some of the footage as it kind of goes through again, because this is one of those things where I was like, he was talking and I was like glued, and like while I wasn't glued, but I was also looking for like achievements as I was going for, which is quite funny. And also I'm wearing the same t-shirt, okay, and I washed it. I did laundry yesterday, okay. I'm just saying that's embarrassing when you're like wearing the same clothing that you are in the stream, which was like a couple of weeks ago, but it's okay. I did, I promise.
What do you say?
It's okay. No judgment here.
It's fine. We believe you.
There was
100%.
actually an achievement here where you had to sit and rest when you get into the instance but you have to do it right at the start, and I was like, I didn't know where, so I had to like go back. I was like, I'm not leaving this instance until I know I've like, you know, done the achievements and stuff like that, because I've been bitten in the ass with this when it comes to mastery points, and I had to do that whole instance again. But yeah, it was just right at the start, and I just had to do /sit or something, and it's like heavy air. There you go, because we are acclimatizing to the new world that we have gone into, which makes sense. Okay, so next part, we go. We continue. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed that part. I thought the combat was fun. I thought it was nice to get introduced to, you know, Ramses, and also be reunited, not really reunited. Brought back to, meeting Arena for the first time, of course. But then we are still in Niles. And the map, we start to look at the map a little bit more as well. Here we go. Just had to switch over the story and stuff like that. There's loads of events and there's loads of story. Is this instance? Oh, the first bit's instance.
Yeah. Can I ask what people thought about Ramesses' model?
I thought it was fun.
But his character model?
Just a crate, isn't it?
I mean, I think... Yeah, I mean, he definitely uses the crate like Naga's skeleton. Seems interesting. Like... I haven't looked at it too closely. I'm just wondering by what capacity
they talk, because it doesn't seem to have any kind of apparatus to create sound.
Face. I know a lot of his communication is through our mind, though. That's how he communicates with us at distance. So maybe that's all of it. Maybe he doesn't have a mouth. Maybe they don't need one. Or he doesn't need one. I guess some of them do have mouths and talk through them. Like Paitha, we see it with Heitor, etc.
But they don't need them to eat.
Could be, yeah.
They suck up stuff through other means. We've seen with Heitor.
Yummy. I'm just wondering, again, I think we talked about this last time about how they take their form, and how much of their form is influenced by their environment and what they're eating, and how much of it is like self-actualization. And I think this is an interesting part of the untold story of the Cryptos, and I would be interesting to see if the characters evolve as they are around other creatures. I think that would be interesting, that they could start to take on different characteristics, and maybe that's implying to what Boots was talking about with how Paitha smells and how she's evolving because of the area. And it would be interesting to see it outside of like the kind of main narrative characters to see if that was a thing. But I like weird storytelling. Sorry.
True, no,
That's good. I mean, like, I wonder if on that point, like, if they evolve based on the area that they exist in, right? So, like, Paitha's spent a decent amount of time in Tyria now, so maybe she is changing because of that. And that makes me wonder if, like, what Deimos looked like if he was, like, while he was in Nyos. Did he change while he was locked away in the Bastion of the Penitent? Maybe. Who knows?
I think it's quite definitive that he gained his emotional support arms, but through his interaction. So
true.
Goodness.
So this part, this chapter 13 was mostly about them kind of getting like a foothold, right, in this new area that we're in, and then we end up with a little bit of story, and then we kind of do events, which honestly I don't mind that, because I don't mind doing events to get used to the zone. Like, I don't mind it always, but like, you know, it's pretty standard stuff most of the time, and I thought we'd stop doing this, but we haven't. Actually, no, they did do it in Secrets of the Obscure as well, so no, I didn't know that. I hope that it stopped it, because they're still doing it. It's not that bad because it's new, like I don't mind it too much. And also there's a lot of them. It's not like you're searching. You are literally in alien territory, which is hostile, and I think this is one of the most hostile areas in the game, or it felt like it when I got into it, at least. I know Heart of Thorns is pretty hostile everywhere.
I was gonna say, it feels definitely less hostile than Heart of Thorns at launch. Launch HOT was something else, and I wish they would bring back that level of kind of insanity and difficulty. Just that curve, I think it really helped to improve players in a lot of senses. But yeah, it's not bad. I appreciate how quick it is. It feels a little bit like the Metal Legion concert, in that there's just always something happening, right? Everywhere you look, there's a new event to go handle. And I appreciate the diversity of events. They felt relatively unique. There's like 15 to 20 different unique events, not including the meta. So I appreciate that. I actually really like the new map quite a bit, and I appreciate how short the meta is, but we'll see if it ends up like Drizzlewood, where the first half was a decent length. It was like 30 minutes, and then they introduced the second half, and now the meta's 2.5 hours. You know, I hope that it doesn't end up being something ridiculously long by the end, by the third update, you know, where you want to just get your daily, but just kidding, you have to spend 3 hours to do so. That would suck.
That would suck. There's a shower going off, and if you can hear some pipes going and everything, it's because there's next door neighbor, so I'm sorry about that, everyone, for a little bit.
I also think, for me, I think it shows the kind of double-edged sword that the mounts are, because you can circumvent all the combat in the game by getting on your mount, or you can get into the ground level and be like walking into events happening all the time. And I guess it's both a weakness and a strength, because if like in expansions, when you have World of Warcraft, they'll actually limit the amount of flying that you can do in your initial playthrough of the story, so they have more control over where you go, the events that you interact with. So it kind of they can channel you and tunnel you through in a capacity that they've played through, that they find the most like moment to moment gameplay loopy, and with the power of the wonderful mount system that we have, this is not like throwing any shade at it, it means that players have so much more autonomy, so perhaps they are not interacting necessarily with the map as the game team, as the people who design these moment to moment combat loops and the kind of the brain addictive part of the gaming, which you have to be very careful with and very focused with, so that we we might not necessarily always be getting the experience that the devs intended, and I think it's interesting, and I think I think it speaks to why there should possibly be more limiting of how we're allowed to use our mounts in specific areas.
So I can't find it. But for whatever reason, stuck in my mind is talking to some NPC, talking about Frode and how it took him time to remember the face of his loved ones. And I don't remember where it was or why it was. Maybe he was talking about some other character, but I thought it was Frode.
It could, well, I don't know, because I don't think
around
Astrolord
for quite a while. Is their life extended or something, and I missed that?
I don't think so. Not within the Astrolord. Like they don't get any sort of. Wizards are immortal.
Old.
When you ascend, you become immortal. So you can't die of old age. They can still be killed, obviously, like what happened with Mabon, but they no longer age. So that's why Isgaren was around 10,000 plus years ago at the previous Dragon Rise. Right, yeah. When the Elder Dragons woke up 10,000 years ago, he was there in that fight.
Mabon's old too.
I think Mabon was at that fight as well. So they're immortal, but the Astrolord is not. They don't have to go through that same ritual.
And the Jotun was as well, because she was there as part of the Dagda. She was part of the she saw the fullness of the Jotun society, and it's. So. Oh,
that's true. I didn't think about how old that makes her, because I don't know when the Jotuns fell.
They fell with the Rising. They fell with the last Dragon Rising, so it has to be before that.
Well, she doesn't look it.
She does look great. It's Botox though, clearly.
Good skin.
You don't see Botox.
So, I think we have essentially reached the point where I could talk about stuff, right?
Probably not, but...
Oh, God.
Let me see where we are in terms of the bits and pieces, because I realize that I have two parts to this story. So one is an hour and 15 minutes, which is two chapters, chapters 12 and 13. And actually, how much of that is events? Oh.
That's a good question. I just replayed chapter 13, and it is a single instance where you fight Heitor.
Chapter 13 is one single instance where you fight Heitor. Chapter 12 is one instance after you've completed the events and talked to Irja and brought them back to camp.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yep.
So this is the meta fight. This is the fight. So this is where I am. I actually did the meta in the middle, but this is still. So I was like, oh, it's still enough. It's a lot shorter than I actually knew. I actually realized that because I've got the meta in there as well.
I was telling you guys earlier, I wanted to refresh my memory of the story, so I started playing it at around 1:00 today, and I finished playing. Well, I replayed it on my character, so I didn't have to do the event section where you just do a bunch of events on the map.
How much was it?
And the whole thing took 35 minutes, so it is pretty short. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you stay for the after talks or anything, or did you just?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing about some of these things is the after talks to talk to people afterwards. Only in the final instance do you actually really have that. The after talks everywhere else is more like, what was it? You talk to Isgaren, and then the next story step is talk to Isgaren again, and then the next story step is talk to Isgaren again. All in the same location, and then you exit the instance.
Right.
Yeah.
And you needed that for
Interesting chat though with him.
Yeah, it was a great chat. I'm very happy I talked to him, but it definitely felt like it was unnecessary button pressing. You know.
Did you like this boss, by the way?
Heitor or the meta boss?
In the meta, yeah, I've got footage planned just in case anyone needs to. I actually really
Although
like this
maybe
boss.
it was necessary button pressing, because otherwise it would just be a long chat with no interruption between, and you can miss stuff. And if you break it up into 3 sections, then at least you could take a pause, digest what you listened to before, talk to the next bit.
Yeah. I do really enjoy the meta. I know I've said this several times already, but I really like how short it is. Ignatius, I think his name is interesting. It's always tough with meta bosses
I like his sword.
because
I think everyone likes
like-
his sword.
yeah, I like his design, but it's always tough with meta bosses because you can't really, unless you're not going to actually kill him in the meta, you can't do a whole lot of character development there, right? Like,
Yeah.
like with Norris, however you pronounce his name is, Norris. That one's interesting because we don't actually kill him, and so we expect to see him again later and hopefully get some more character development on this massive cryptis
Blob
with
of
its own
flesh.
tentacles. Yeah, this guy who I hope by the time that we see him again is fully blind because we shot his eyes out.
Yeah, it definitely seems like I don't know how much character development we'll get from him because it seems like he's kind of a I am a person who hungers situation, not a person who thinks. So,
Yeah.
So not
that's
much
fair.
depth to him. It's just all about eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't get a whole lot of that out of this meta boss either, you know. And like I said, it's tough. But I did like what we saw. I like his design. I appreciate that he has some new combination of attacks. Like we see the same like cracks from Doom, and they kind of pulled from different places and put them together. I don't appreciate how often he does the attack where you have to hide behind the rocks. That feels like you have to do it like 10 times per fight, which is a little ridiculous.
I actually really enjoyed that because it bugged out, and I think they fixed it. But I had Pax in it who designed this. He was one of the designers, and it was quite handy because they were watching, and the rock went down before the blast. And I just
happened to me once.
shitting. I just started losing it. It was so funny. And
This happened to me once where it broke and it killed everybody behind the rock except for me. And I was like, why did I not die with everybody else? Like the rock broke and then he did the attack. And I was like, why am I still alive? But I was able to res
I think it's
everyone.
because one of the characters who was playing with you in the squad was cosplaying Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and you were just behind them.
That's gotta be it.
Yeah.
That's gotta be the one.
that's very good, Boots.
Do you have?
Why is it that when I sometimes make jokes, you congratulate me on finally a good joke?
Well done, Boots. Well done. It's rare, but
I
we
don't know,
appreciate it
because
when
it
you do
was extra. Like, if it's extra, I'll give people bonus points. You just get the most. I was going to say it to
The gold star.
This was Echo Val Forest, wasn't it? This kind of you must hide behind something or you will be downed immediately.
Oh, that mechanic's in there in tons of
Mechanics,
bosses.
yeah.
I mean, it's in like some of the old dungeons as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
But
remember.
yeah.
Speaking of some of the dungeons, and well, okay, kind of tangent there with Honor of the Waves. Somewhere out there with the wizards, there is an immortal Kodan, and I would love for us to find Waiting Sorrow. They don't really talk too much about her, but she just left.
We saw Sorrow.
Waiting Sorrow?
We fought Sorrow.
Not
Yeah,
waiting
we
for it.
waited.
Oh,
They
you're
were
fine.
waiting for us in.
Right.
Yeah,
In the
Ios,
convergence.
and then we
Yes.
fought them. Yeah,
Oh god.
Waiting Sorrow.
Well,
Good
actually,
one, Boo.
I'm just gonna stop talking for a little while.
Oh, there you go. Here you go. This
Um,
is where it happened. This is where it'll be on the screen in a minute. But continue talking because we all go to this rock here, and you won't see it on the thing. And
So
anyway.
Waiting Sorrow, you're saying Waiting Sorrow left and never came back?
Correct. Yeah, Waiting Sorrow was like, I'm really sick of being immortal and just having to do basically what his Garen says.
Oh right, that's
and
right. Yeah.
just left. Just took
Yeah.
off, and we don't know where she is.
Gordon?
Right. So
She's also in a serious relationship, at least an emotional relationship, if not a full-on
Tell us about it.
marital relationship with Dagda. So literally her life partner just off.
Yeah.
Which
But
is
with
a
a
bit
name
rough.
like Waiting
I
Sorrow,
wasn't sure what their full relationship was. But yeah, I mean, Dagda took over as
indicated. It indicated that they were in an intimate relationship. But then again, when you live forever, I would imagine that the confines of an intimate relationship take on very different dimensions than the corporeal mortal lives that we
also,
have.
if you live forever, and if in your society your name kind of defines who you are, and your name is Waiting Sorrow, and you live forever, I feel like it wasn't going to end well. Probably.
Are you suggesting that they're not fun at parties? Is that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hello, I'd like to introduce you to my friend, the pessimist arsehole.
Immortal pessimist asshole.
Do you mean
but-
my pet name for my husband, the High Lord Pedant, is not cute? No? Okay,
very-
fine.
As long as
Very
it's cute between you two, that's all that matters.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
No, but I think
No,
you're right. I
he
think
loves
we
being called
will-
that.
I think you're right. We probably will see Waiting Sorrow at some point. Maybe not in this arc, but at
Yeah.
some point in the future. Then again, I did think we'd see Malik again in the future, so we'll see.
Yeah, Malik is a whole
Which
other
one?
topic.
There's a lot of people. So this part of the story, we in this chapter, who is that? We're going to see. There's a Kryptos we find, and he's in a little tent because we find him. I don't know gender-wise.
Irja?
What the characters are. What, sorry?
Do you mean Irja?
Is that what their name is? I can't remember.
So you're just the one that Ramsey sends us off on a little
Irja.
fetch quest to go
That's
find.
right,
And
Yeah,
then,
that's right.
little
Irja.
Kryptos.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we find Irja, and they're like, "Wait, there's another way. We don't have to follow Epic," and then they die.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, now hold on a second. First, they get to try to be a little bit happier in the camp for about 5 minutes, and then
Oh, that's true. Then they
This
die.
was really unfortunate because I was like, "Oh, little guy."
yeah.
Oh,
And
actually, take
now
care of him, and he's dead.
it does seem like it was supposed to be one of those deaths like Maban or whatever that is supposed to like give your character or other characters impetus to care about things or impetus to be mad at individuals. But it was just so brief that it's hard to care enough
Right, and
about it.
I think that's just the recurring issue with Soto thus far is like you want to have this standalone story where you introduce all new characters, but then you're also killing them very fast, and that just doesn't feel good. Like,
Yeah, like honestly, you met Irja, you bring them to camp, you have literally 4 lines of dialogue with them.
Yep.
And then your character at the end of this section of the story, after Irja dies, is like, I'm all in now because Irja's dead. This is my motivating factor. I see how Eparch is now. I see that Eparch is bad.
this is my canon event.
Yeah, it doesn't hit home for me, that part.
Yeah, I just think that they're taking things too quickly, right? If they were to slow down, add a few more instances, wait an episode or two to start killing characters off, it would probably hit better. But like Maban being introduced and then talking to you for half of Soto, initial Soto, and then being killed is just too fast.
Now,
Especially for
I
such
do
an
agree that
important
Maban, I liked him as a character and I liked him to go longer. But Maban dying isn't necessarily an emotional hitch for us. Like, yes, we only get to talk to them for a little while, but more likely it's an emotional beat for the other characters because he has thousands of years of backstory with these people.
Right.
So yeah,
it was Zoja, wasn't it? It was a heart shot at Zoja.
It's Zoja.
That's what it was. Yeah.
It is meant for Zoja, and I get that they wanted her to ascend, right after Soto, or like at the start of this episode. But I do think that it would have been better for us if they had waited later for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
like just
probably.
put it off a little bit longer, because like, why am I invested in her ascension if it happened right away?
Also, has the moment arrived? Are we there? Can
We've
you
talked
talk about the
Irja,
things?
so now I could talk about things that Irja says, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's
Absolutely
literally
not.
not important, but all I wanted to talk about was that there's a couple lines of dialogue that talk about the nature of Kryptos and of the world Nios that they're in, and so they talk about the way that Kryptos experience life in Naos, and one thing is, your character asks, after Irja mentions Tyria and Tyrians, your character asks, "You know of Tyria?" And Irja says, "I've seen it. Well, I've dreamt. Not in a long while, but there's so much watercolor smells." So, Kryptos dream of other places.
Mm-hmm.
They dream of real other places. Tyria is one of them. And That's okay. So that's number one. Number two, later on, you talk to Patha when you're going to attack Hator, and you're talking about the area Hator's in, and you say this place is certainly, Arena says, dramatic. Patha says grotesque. I never understood how we became so dramaturgic. All this was copied from other worlds. We were born to the dirt of the demon realm. So now that makes me think that the fact that she says, I don't know how we became so dramaturgic. So it sounds like they shaped the world they're in. They shaped it to be dramaturgic. And they shaped their world based on the dreams they have.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why Nios looks the way it does is because it's formed from dreams of other places, Tyria being one of them, so that's why it looks a little bit like Tyria, but different shades of color. And I think the shades of color kind of, you know how when you dream, it's not bright colors, it's kind of dull, flat, kind of a little black and white, but not quite. So I think that might have something to do with it too.
I don't know if that's how everyone dreams.
I think that might be just you.
I was
That
going to
might
say,
just
I
be you,
think
Boots.
that might be
I was
yours,
like, I'm
and
pretty
I
sure my dreams have been in.
Wait a
color.
second. Maybe it is just me, but let me look.
do
Can
some
you dream in
dreaming.
color?
I can
mean,
dream. Yes, you can.
You can.
You
You
very
can
much
dream
can.
on
I
color.
Well,
remember,
in
I
1950s
remember
TV.
a dream I had.
Overall, researchers and study participants agree that black and white dreams are the norm. Rare cases of
Interesting.
colored dreams were dubbed technicolor dreams.
When
Wow.
was this study done?
I don't know.
So in the 50s?
Yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I mean, what, is it peer reviewed or is it just like something?
Yes,
off
it's peer
Fox?
reviewed. It's peer reviewed.
Well, yeah. I mean, then that's the
Interesting.
thing. Must be a poll. I'm thinking about it. I mean, I guess if I really had to think about it, that's I don't really remember other than specific dreams in my life. But the one thing has been in color, maybe. But that was domineering over everything. So it makes sense.
Maybe. Just to further your point a little bit there, Boots.
I do dream analysis stuff, but I never think about the color that much. It's interesting.
When
Ask them.
when Irja dies,
Well,
Ramses does like say to her
Talk
like
about
dream.
dreams more. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like dream or like basically implying like be a part of the dream now kind of thing. So it seems like dreaming is a very important part of their culture or their species or world.
Yeah, you could actually talk to Ramses later also, after everything, I think. And you could ask them, can I ask you more about dreams? And so here's the dialogue. Ramses says, you are the subject of many a dream. I see why Patha is so fascinated with you. Dreams as in, yes, so you've had so little exposure to our world. Let me be your guide. Dreams flutter through the air, bleeding in from other worlds, visions of cities and wars, great beasts and lovers. We Cryptus, and all demons, are born with a flicker of curiosity. Your dreams inspire us, for better or worse. Now, if you're Sylvari, you could say, that's not too dissimilar from my people. We're born of a dream. It gives us a path, a purpose. And if you're not Sylvari, you say, I think I understand. It's awful lot like the Sylvari in our world. And so Ramsey says, yes, that's right. The people of the Pale Tree have especially poignant dreams, exciting and feverish. Eparch has stifled our ability to dream, however. As of late, the youngest of our kind have yet to experience any.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
So he's overwriting their culture.
That's why the Cryptus that are all part of Eparch's clan are all something else. They don't look like Patha, for example. They don't look like Deimos. They can't dream of other worlds and get ideas of what to look like. They can only be formed by other things.
Oh.
So that's why they're so fragmented and so disjointed, because that is a representation of him.
I think so.
I thought they were like that because he slightly devoured them, though, and so that maybe, or is that?
I doubt they're going to answer all of these questions by the end, but I hope that they answer a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it'd be
But
interesting
anyway, this is an
to see,
example
like,
of the things I really enjoy about this story, in that it's giving us little pieces that we're trying to put together to understand the world of Tyria and the world of Nios. And I like that.
Yeah. Good point.
I will say a little bit on the topic of Nios. As someone who loves the overworld map, I was a little disappointed that Nios wasn't its own map. even if they had just kind of put it as part of the mists, it feels awkward that they laid it on top of Tyria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fortnite, were you talking about that last time?
Yeah, I think so.
That bothers me.
Yeah, I had very much the same feeling that I was kind of hoping that we would use the heart in order to kind of spin up a map of Mist Realms, and that the heart would not just be a one and done kind of one shot with this expansion, that the heart would actually be like a gateway to the mists that we could use, and they could just spin up a new map and then we'd go. And it does feel kind of strange that it's floating out past where the Wizard's Tower is, and there isn't even any. So it would be one thing, for example, brain, in World of Warcraft, in one of the expansions, I think it was Legion, they had another world drawn and dragged basically by one of the main characters to be basically orbiting the planet of and on the map they separated out and they gave some art indication. It wasn't you interacted with the map exactly the same. It was there. The functionality was all the same. But because they had a different art and it represented that it was something other, that like, you know, if you're going down into the pits of a map, for example, in the new maps for Dragonflight, when you're going down into a subterranean area, it looks like it's broken earth and you can see that it is sunken, so that you have a visual story representation. And I kind of wish that even on the open world map that they'd done some sort of visual representation. Maybe it's surrounded in a like a billowy cloud. Maybe it's something so that we can see that it isn't actually just, this is just a section of Tyria that you've never been to. And if you had no idea of the lore, then you're going to think, well, gosh, that's a weird thing. You know?
Yeah. And if you zoom into Inner map, you can see that there is kind of that red swirl around the edge of it where it meets Tyria, but that only happens when you're fully zoomed into the Nyos map. If you zoom out, it just looks like another piece of Tyria, and I dislike it. I know that functionally, since the start of the game, there have only ever been two maps. There's Tyria and the Mists. But I was really hoping that we would get a third, or some way to map the mists, you know, or something along those lines, because it feels out of place. And I think that for the most part, they've been very good about like keeping the map 1-to-1 with the original Guild Wars map. They've done a good job about, you know, kind of separating where it needs to be separated. The only exception I can think of is Dark-Rime Delves, which is not where it should be on the world map when you're in that instance. But
so I think where I stood last time is kind of where I still stand on it. Is for one map, I'm okay with it. I don't expect them to make an entirely new UI element just for the one map. But in the future, if we go to more places in the mists or past the mists, I think that's exactly what they should do. They should have like a little button with the Heart of the Obscure, brings up a new map basically of the mists that you go to different places. I'm happy enough that it's there because it's above ocean, and it's not like it's making sure we can't go to the Isles of Janthier now. It's like somewhere else, you know. Yeah, it's not somewhere we'd normally go anyway.
I understand that they probably wanted to leave the waypoint there available, but you're right. The Heart of the Obscure would have been a good option to open up a separate map for Nyos and have the waypoint available there, or even just give us a button, give us a Heart of the Obscure icon on the world map so that we can click that and say go to Nyos. Something along those lines.
Online. You've got like the main map of oh my god, Tamriel, and then you've got the DC, like the DLCs around the side. There's like a thing which goes around the side. It's got like Clockwork City, these other things as well, and you can just click it, and then you've just got the new map. It's really simple. They should have done that. They missed an opportunity there. And they should do it in the future, I think. But
can I ask you a question, Jebro? Because sorry, apologies.
No, go ahead.
So I know that you know a lot of the developers and the technical brainiacs that do the mapping and thing. I seem to remember having a conversation whereby there's something very complicated and spaghetti-ish about the coding of the map, which is why it's behaved and why we've had so many expansions where we go off in a rather than maps being linked, that we go off in an airship and we have to get there by different means. Do you have any insight? No is an appropriate answer.
Who, me?
Yeah, because you know so many devs, right?
Oh no! I mean, I think they're just instance maps and zones. I think it's just
There's a line in the story
there.
as to why we don't have a gate yet. Because in the story, like as Garen says, go now, and while we're stitching the worlds together,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. So I assume in the next episode we'll have a fully formed portal. But
I hope so,
until then-
because there's also a POI in the Wizard's Tower called Under Construction. And
Yeah,
it's
there
just
you go.
it's a portal that they're building, and they've been building it since
because
Soda
he
released,
literally
so-
has a line in the story that says, "We're doing this, we're building it.
Oh, there you
Wait
go.
a bit."
Yeah.
There you go. This
Yeah.
runs the phonics. Yeah, I don't know code-wise. I mean, the code they've kind of admitted, like we've talked about this before, that the game is based off of. I think code really kind of. Again, not a big coding expert or anything, but it's dodgy. And like the people who wrote that code are not there anymore. So it's even more dodgy. So I think they're doing a good job with what they've got. And it's complicated.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, with people leaving, there's always a lot of weird things that kind of get lost. I was just posting on my Twitter daily lore about the Great Dwarf.
Oh, wow,
and how he's supposed to be the god of the dwarves, and that he left to go into the rift. But also, Jeff Grubb, the guy who wrote the Great Dwarf, at some point in an interview that you cannot access anymore. This interview was on some like Guild Mag website or something, and you can't access the link. In some interview, he mentioned that the Great Dwarf is not an actual single entity, but is a collective of dwarven minds, which makes absolutely no sense given
the
rest of the
dwarf
lore.
Skrit.
Kind of,
No.
yeah. So when they did the Rite of the Great Dwarf, they theoretically joined the Great Dwarf, like the Great Dwarf Collective. But the story behind the Great Dwarf initially definitely made him sound like a single entity, like way in the past. Like he created the dwarves, he forged them at Anvil Rock.
He's bald as well.
In this later
Sorry.
interview that you can't read anymore, apparently the guy who wrote it, the guy who wrote about the Great Dwarf, said that the Great Dwarf is not a single entity. He's not an actual god. He's a collective. And I was like, this makes no sense at all. But now he doesn't work for Internet, so it's like we can't. How do we go back and correct it? Who do we talk to figure out these kind of things if the people who initially did them are gone?
I mean, I think it's fairly clear that there is a dwarf god, and he somehow miraculously emigrated to America, and he has a cat called Krisha, and he might be slightly bald.
Well said.
It's definitely bald. Like
Tall.
Definitely bald.
Tall as well.
You're tall.
Because he's a god.
Okay. Good to know. It's like your Tinder profile.
I
Oh.
think
I'm a
you
tall
could have it
dwarf
both
god.
ways. You could have it both ways. What if the Great Dwarf is basically, what's that thing called? Like with all the robots that like
Like a
go
Megazord?
together and.
Megazord?
Yeah, exactly. A Megazord. The Great Dwarf is a Megazord, and when all the dwarves come together, they
They're
make the
just
Great
like
Dwarf.
in a row, like on the arms, they're just like there going.
that's
It's 10 dwarves all stacked on top of each other in
In
a
a
large
trench
coat.
coat.
Yes.
that's it.
That is
Sounds a great dwarf.
For Mega Dwarf, the Great Dwarf.
Oh jeez. It makes no sense. I'm like, it made sense when he was just a god. And he
Someone
left. Like
needs to
he
do
forged
that.
the dwarves. It's great. He went on to live in his realm in the mists in the afterlife. That's awesome. That's great lore. I'm fine with that. And then later on in this random interview, he was like, yeah, actually the Great Dwarf is a collective of dwarves, and when they pulled the right of the Great Dwarf, they all became the Great Dwarf as a collective unit. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Because how did the Great Dwarf forge the dwarves? But then
As
also
a collective unit, they work together.
but as a collective unit in the future,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it makes no sense. I hate it.
Anyway,
I hate it so much. I
Let's
was like,
continue with this story.
Time
because
heist in the
that-
future.
I love
Yeah.
I
talking
mean,
about
to me,
dwarves.
to be honest, forging dwarves sounds like just dwarves having sex to me. So as a collective unit, they
yeah,
forged a
got
lot
a
of
good point
dwarves.
there.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay, right, back to now because the dwarfs having sex thing is gone, and that happened today.
Jebro, I feel like this is something that you'd be very interested in. What's going on?
I
Yeah.
mean, I
Are you
am
still
very
on a
interested in dwarfs, but not the sex part. I mean, that's fine.
Again, I feel like this is something you'd be very interested in.
It's the dwarf version of Tinder.
Like, okay. Anyway, oh god. We're going to the stronghold. That's what we're doing. We're invading the stronghold.
That's
that-
what.
yeah,
No,
that's
I'm
right.
not
This
going to
is
do
the
it.
last
I'm
bit
not
of
going to do it. No,
Is that
carry
okay?
on.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay,
no, no, no.
right, yeah.
No. I'm just going to fast forward because this is actually events outside again. That
Look
was
at those
actually-
videos
Also-
of that guy. Yeah.
I need
Go
to
on.
apologize to Read Geek because I completely missed yours and her podcast the other week. My ADHD just took me over. So, yeah, sorry, darling. I am going to watch it. Okay, carry on.
Oh yeah, keep
Sorry.
traveling.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a random section in the video where I say hello to people that I know in chat, and you guys are a bit bewildered by that. So, anyway, carry on.
Hey, reader linked a thing.
Ooh.
I don't think this is the same interview because I don't see Dwarf in it.
No, he did several interviews, but I cannot find the one. There's a link on the wiki to an interview. I think it was done by Guildmag, where he specifies that the Great Dwarf is a collective consciousness of the other dwarves. But that interview link does not work. It doesn't exist anymore. And nowhere else is this talked about, and it makes no sense. And I was like, I was thinking about posting a tweet about it, but I was like, it's far too confusing and I can't explain it. And the writer who said it isn't there anymore. So I'm just.
It can't be
gonna leave it as
canon
is.
because all the
it can't be.
dwarves
It was
that
just a
we've
random
interacted
interview.
with- Yeah.
And
Like-
it's
all the
down
doors have
now,
been
which
interacted
means
with
that
this,
maybe
so-
ArenaNet got to it.
It could be.
Had to
Maybe they got
Maybe.
to him.
had to
He
maintain
got disappeared.
the purity
Yeah.
of the lore.
God, disappeared.
I would be interested to go to Skywatch Archipelago and see if any of the newer dwarves from the Fractal talk about the Great Dwarf there, because this is before they pulled off the ritual. So all of them theoretically just worship the Great Dwarf still, right? So that would, I think, imply more canon than this random interview.
I like how we've gone from Soto story to the Great Dwarf. Like there is track.
I brought it
And
full circle.
there is-
Okay.
That's true. That's
The
true.
dwarves and Soto.
I'm just saying, like it's very,
And it's
very
important
good.
to note that it
Very
wasn't
good.
me derailing the conversation.
No, it wasn't a derailment. There was an actual, because we were talking about spaghettiness and old stuff, and then there was some kind of logical.
Proper
course.
segue, and I brought it back.
You did.
That's right.
That's true. That's true. That's important. You good. You good. This fight in the stronghold of Heitor, really good.
Right.
I really enjoyed this fight. It was fun.
The fight with Heitor, you mean,
Yes.
or the meta fight?
the fight
Because
with
both take
Heitor.
place in there.
With Heitor.
Is it
Okay.
Heitor?
I thought
Yes.
it was that's Heitor. Yeah,
Right.
we gotta
There you go.
kill all the haters.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was fairly fairly
okay.
predictable. I mean, it was the same thing over and over again. But I tried to get the achievement done, and it was meant to not get downed. And I realized I just had a damage build
Yeah, with the damage build, it doesn't work well.
with
She
just
hits hard. She hits
does.
hard in
The
certain
spinny-
phases if you
the
don't
spinny one.
break her thing.
Spinny attack was quite hard.
Yeah.
Can I do my major critique of the patch then? No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did
So-
do you want to talk about the end of this part, where we end, and then or is it included? Because we killed her.
Hey, it's
Wait. Actually, wait.
Yeah.
We got to watch her just death
Okay.
first as well.
Okay. Okay.
Just put that bit in there. Where is it?
That's fine.
There we go.
I can keep my powder dry. I'm fine.
Heitor beams in Urja, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden
Everybody's mad.
yeah, there's everyone mad. Right, okay. So we kill what's the name, and then Pafer's like, I'm a bit knackered, and we're gonna take a break. That's pretty much.
Yep.
That was pretty much the end of it. On this, it was.
And there's an optional thing you could do at the end there, which is gather intel or information from
Yes.
the area looking at things. Now, I don't know if this was on purpose or if they just forgot. Maybe they were experimenting with not putting any kind of indication of where the items that we were supposed to look at were. Usually they have some kind of invitation. Maybe they're like, we don't want to handhold you, find it yourself. But the problem was that it was indecipherable stuff on the ground, just random junk on the ground, and there was random junk on the ground everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's you just had to walk around until you had a pop up.
That's what I did.
and then click
Basically.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think that a couple of them were pretty obvious, like finding the Astral Ward member who was dead,
Yes,
talking to
there was that
Ramses.
one.
But there are 4, and I mean, I literally went and got that achievement during this podcast, and it's hard to find them. Like I couldn't find the 4th
you
one.
just
for a
walk around
while.
in circles until something pops up, and then there's no like
No
weird thing
indication
to
at
look
all.
at. And but then the
Yeah.
other thing is, you get about as much information from them as you do just random things on the ground. Like it's this person is dead, I'm sad, and then
Right.
and then what is this? Nothing. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I have to look at it again. The information we got was very lackluster, I remember.
Yeah.
I want to hear the Crichton Herald. It's your time. Speak your truth.
Is it my time? Okay.
It is
So
your time, as they say.
I
Oh no.
there's a whole area dedicated to Hater. It feels like she should be a far more present character on the map. It feels she should be far more present in all of the story points because she is the mate, the partner. We don't know how their reproductive system works, so it could be a spiritual union, it could be a physical union of a demon we killed. We literally killed Ceres. We murdered her partner. If someone murdered my partner, I'm gonna be quite awful to them for as long as I possibly can. Yeah, I mean, so, and she's also a demon, so we're given that they revel in the excesses of their emotionality, and so to have our encounter with her boiled down to a single, fairly short interaction seemed deeply unsatisfying from a narrative point of view. I would have very much liked her to be a looming presence on the map, kind of haunting us almost like the bloody destroyer on oh my god, there was this boss in World of Warcraft that you'd be on a map and it was like 17 feet tall and it could sneak up on you and murder you in one shot. Anyway, that kind of omnipresent kind of threat that we have to kind of rally our forces to face, so that she is, because she is kind of portrayed as like the right hand of the main villain of the piece, and yet she is a small, in any other narrative that we've received from the team, a side boss, not the main, not even a notable main event. And it's very distressing. We just don't. There is story here, there is potential here, there is a setup here that we feel like we should be getting a payoff, and there is no payoff.
I have another question too. Is it just Hator that can suck up Cryptus? Or is that every Cryptus can suck up Cryptus?
It's a good
Is
question.
it like
I think Eparch does it.
Yeah, Eparch definitely does
Eparch does it for sure. So she's definitely not the only one. But I don't know.
Is it just one of those, like, you know, those video games that you're a fish and you get bigger by eating other smaller fish than you? And
Could be feeding frenzy. Yeah.
Is that how the Cryptus work? Like, can any Cryptus just go around and suck up other Cryptus whenever they want?
As long as they have consent, then yes.
The Great Dwarf, like they just Cryptus Collective.
I think there's an position on the map. I don't know whether Astral's going to talk about this, but there's a particular encounter that goes off where there's a Cryptus who has sealed themselves into a cave, and we break down that barrier because we think they've been trapped in there, but actually they've fortified this place so that they can protect themselves from other Cryptus, and they thought that we'd come there to eat them. So if they thought that we, as an alien species, were going to eat them, it's kind of like you don't see the world how it is, you see the world how you are, hence the fact that Boots thinks that everyone dreams in black and white. This creature thought that everybody is going to eat everybody else if they have ill intent, and so he literally barricaded himself. So I think that might be, I don't know what you think, Astral, what your thoughts?
Yeah, you're talking about the Wanderer.
Yeah.
Which is in the, yeah.
It's an achievement, actually.
Yeah. The Wanderer is interesting because he's just locked himself away. Like, he doesn't want any part of this. And I hope that he comes back and becomes a bigger character in the future episodes, because we go and free him and we're like, hey, it's not just Eparch's people. Like, you can fight against him, and that's what we're doing. So hopefully he'll come back and we'll get some more interesting news there. But you're right, it does seem like he's like, I don't want any part of this like consumption cycle. And so he's locked himself away. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that is a normal thing for them. Like they can just consume other cryptis to gain strength. But I hope we see more about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unanswered questions, which I think is somewhat a testament to the way that this expansion is written. There are obviously issues with it, but I think that it does raise a lot of questions, and I really hope that we see payoffs for them, because that could really turn this expansion around. But if they don't answer all these questions and they just leave them hanging, it's gonna leave this expansion like in the dust for me. Like, I'll finish out my obsidian armor and leave it forever, which is really disappointing as someone who goes by Astral and all of the Astral things in it.
Quiet and Harold, did you start your rant? Which is kind of what it is. Is it a rant? I mean, I don't know, not a rant, but like it's like I didn't know another word for it right then, so I didn't mean to call it a rant.
I am trying to be thoughtful in my critique.
Okay.
Because I know that they have a. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I know that the writing team are fantastic. I know that the writing team are capable of creating thought-provoking, emotionally deep, complicated stories that we can engage with on both intellectual and emotional level. They are fantastic at environmental storytelling. They have created a whole host of interesting characters who I would happily, and this is rare for me because I am like a hermit, have dinner with. Sit down and have a conversation with them, because they genuinely, a lot of them feel like they have enough architecture to, chat GPT it, as it were. So they have the foundation, and they have in this Lovecraftian inspired kind of grim fairy tale world the ability to create a very compelling, very deep narrative, and yet what we're getting delivered, because of whatever constraints are happening behind the scenes, is simply not living up to the promise that this, at least in terms of the story, that we should be getting. And that's my bugbear.
And I wonder if it's because of the structure of releases that they have going on. Like, I wonder if them needing to have a quarterly story release, because that's what they promised, is not to the detriment of the story. If it would have been smarter to say, like, if we got like a decent amount of story. I think the original release of Soto was a good, decent amount of story for definitely for that quarter, and I would say probably more. Yeah. And this, I think we all kind of feel is a little bit too little. And by a little bit too little, I mean a lot too little. And I wonder if they released it in third instead of quarters, if they had combined two story releases, it would have felt better. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea from a story perspective. If they don't have, a huge story to tell, package it in fewer but larger packages, right?
They don't need to have so what they do in Elder Scrolls Online is they have 2 major story patches a year, and they have one, then the rest of it is dungeon patches, where they put 2 dungeons in there and they've got their own story. So they actually don't even do, so they do that and it works really well, and then you've got the big expansion with the big story, and then the other stories
I was going to say though, yeah, with the way that we release content, we definitely, if you're going to package the story in that way where you have larger chunks but less frequently, we need other content in order to fill the other gaps, because 4 months between 4 months between updates would be too long. I think 3 months is too long, to be honest. What we have with this quarterly release it feels too long, especially when Guild Wars 2 started as every other week. Like,
I know, but
season one
they
was
couldn't
so
do
fun.
that.
They were small. I know that it's not manageable. I understand that.
that
But,
like destroyed the
Soul
studio.
crushing.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
I think every quarter. I think as long as they meet every quarter, then I think it's enough. But the problem is they haven't in the past, right? Like I think it's enough, but I think also Guild Wars 2 doesn't really have. I'm very wary of time. We haven't even talked about one weapon yet. And
I told my wife I'd be done right now.
we're gonna be. What's that? Sorry,
we could do the weapons another time.
We can do. Well, we can.
Why not?
Well, the issue is that the beta comes out next week.
We could
right?
talk
So
about the
if we
weapons
want to
during
talk
the
about the previews, then
Just talk about the
Yeah,
previews very quick. Yeah. We can do that.
yeah.
I personally, I actually really enjoyed it. I like the shortness of it. I had fun for the hour or so. You know, it's a couple of hours overall. I think you can count doing the events in it as well, because I think if you do
Sure, there's some story in there.
part of
And they're
it,
new.
right?
Yeah,
it's
I mean, there's
new.
story and they're new.
So you got
So-
kind of factor in that as well. So the story specifically is short, but as you're walking around the zone, there is a lot of stuff going on. There's people. There's the Astral War talking about, you know, how they're stuck there. There's people like, you know, trying to form barricades and do things. There's lots of events. The meta is really good. Generally, I think the update was pretty good, but it just screamed Living World to me again. It was just like, it's just actually Living World repackaged, and it's the expansion. That's literally what it was. And we got the but we're getting the strikes and everything else in addition, so we are getting extra stuff, but there's not as much maybe story.
My critique is primarily story, and I would say that it
Agreed.
is a case of that you need to manage the expectations of the community, because when and here's where I feel like there's been a disconnect between what they were planning to deliver and the narrative that has been released to the community, whereby we would get with Soto, we would get a complete story arc, and then with the Living World, with the DLC quarterly releases, we would get a separate, complete story arc in and of itself that is there's linked. I always thought it would be very much linked to the primary story of the expansion, and it is, and that's fair. We want to follow Paitha into Naos. It's something that we're interested in. She is a fascinating character, but I feel like they might have oversold what we were getting, because what we're getting does not feel like a full fleshed out narrative arc. And it's not that I'm not taking umbrage at that, and I'm all for a proper work-life balance for these wonderful creatives who make the world that we love. But I feel like you have to have an honest, open dialogue with the community. I was saying this before we started recording the podcast, that the expectation and what they've said that they're going to deliver has been a miss. And if they can't give the story this month, if they've spent so much time and so much energy and so much resources on the strikes and the weapons and fleshing out all these features, just tell the community, just be honest with us. Just, guys, we're into a new era. This is uncharted territory. We're balancing, we're managing, we're doing these things, and just rather than them working their asses off, and then there being sections of the community, especially like we were talking about World v World, that feel kind of let down by the situation. So I feel like transparency is key to managing the expectations of the community.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like what they're doing in terms of the other content, right? Like the story has been a little lackluster, but I like the new map. I like the variance in events. I like the metas that they've introduced. I think that there's interesting fights there beyond the yoga and Amnitas, but I think that, you know, they've got some good things going, and I appreciate how they're working on the core systems too, and how they just did a big, you know, update where they patched a bunch of dungeon stuff in preps for the dungeon rush that we're supposed to get sooner or later. And you know, if we want to segue this into the new hero jumpstart, you know, I appreciate that they're doing that, and giving like new players an opportunity to catch up, because there is a lot to catch up on, and also giving old players, you know, a reason to go back and hit the different like older events, go play in the new areas again, or the starter areas, I'm sorry, meet new people, and we're getting that bonus XP, which helps across the board.
You pretty much just said it, so we don't really need to talk about anything. You get a weapon skin as well.
Yeah, that's
So
the whole
go do it.
thing.
Go and do it.
I
Like
agree.
5 events. Is it 5 events? You get a weapon skin and you get to
it's-
mingle with people and.
It's total of 25, so you gotta do
it's
5
25,
in each starter zone. Yeah. So
Oh my
5
God, that
in
was a
Metro Province, 5 in Queensdale.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about
Perfectly
weapons now. There we
But
go.
yes, the weapons.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some tea.
We're just going to do a mini overview because it's not going to be massively in depth because we've been going for a bit. See, if everyone says we were talking, the story was short, but we still managed to almost do an entire podcast episode on it.
We talked an entire podcast that is longer than the episode. Like that's
This is true.
there's that.
Elementalists we're going to look at first. So this is one of your mains, right? Do you play this a lot, Boots? You play Ellie?
Yeah, sure.
You love Ellie, don't you? What's your main Astral as well? I can't remember.
I play Rev for the most part.
Play Rev and Astral. Okay.
Don't get me started on Scepter.
Yeah, Ellie used to be my main a while
How are
back.
you feeling about the old pistol?
I like it. It's one of my faves of the upcoming
Yeah.
weapons.
What, anything specific from what they said?
Well, they mentioned it's going to be Condi focused, so I'm intrigued by that because most elementalist weapons are just kind of hybrid, depending on what kind of element you choose to use. You either do Condi or power, or hybrid in general. But if it's a Condi focused weapon that's ranged, that's intriguing, and especially the way they described it. So the way it works is not your auto attack, but your 2 other skills, depending on your attunement, obviously. If you use one of the 2 other skills, it creates an orb of that attunement.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you use another a skill of that attunement that's not an auto attack, you consume that orb. If you have an orb that's already made, you consume it to add an extra effect onto the attack you're doing. So whether it's, I think the 2 things they described was one does more Condi damage, and the other one would do, if you did the other way around, it would do like an extra, I think it was a CC of some kind in addition. And so, yeah, and that's for every element. It's going to be different. And yeah, I think it's going to make a really good, interesting, and fun to play Weaver, Condi Weaver, probably.
Yeah, I do wonder where it's gonna leave Scepter, because Scepter, at least as of now, isn't it the go-to Condi ranged weapon?
The ranged weapon, yeah, Condi ranged weapon, yeah.
Right. So I guess I just don't see what role exactly this is gonna fill.
Well, it's going to replace Scepter.
Right, it's going to replace Scepter, right? Like,
Yeah.
But that's my point. Is like we already had something that did this. Maybe it didn't do it super well. Maybe they want to change that over to be power
It's
focused.
the fun
I mean,
role, though.
Scepter definitely does
It's the squirt
more.
gun.
I'm guessing Scepter is going to be more of the AOE situation, while especially with the fire, with the tooth and the auto attacks and
Scepter is
it's more
bursty
single
in
target.
PvP. Scepter is like rude. in
It sure
PvP.
can be.
Ugh, disgusting. Okay. Anything else about this? I like the look. I like some of the abilities, just effects and stuff. I like, it's good visually because you can see the effects up above their head, right, of what they're going to be using, I suppose, as well.
I have an Elementalist main friend who is very upset that every other preview for these new weapons was given like fancy skins on the character, and then the Elementalist one was like, "Here is Mithril Pistol." Like,
it's Menlo.
There you go. It's so like the pistol skin itself there is just so bland.
Yeah, because you don't need to fancify it up. It's good in itself.
This
Is that why
reminds
they
me
give
of
Guardian the fanciest ones?
Exactly.
These remind me more of the old school kind of trailers for like classes a little bit more as well.
Agreed.
Like they feel a little bit more. It's some of the angles and stuff a little bit, but like they're not as fancy as like if you go back and watch the Camphor ones, for example, they were a lot fancier. But these ones are like
are very flashy.
I also like that the person who filmed it didn't turn screen shake off. So every time they do certain attacks that cause your screen to shake, it jumps the camera.
I didn't
does it?
notice.
Yeah.
Oh, it does a little bit. Yeah. Actually, that's true. Maybe that was
I think-
intentional though.
Maybe it was intentional.
They wanted to hit
They're
harder.
also not doing it with. Yeah, they're doing it because someone else is filming it. It's not the actual character, right? Because they wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah,
They
look,
could.
there's no.
I mean,
You don't think you can be able to get those angles? I don't think they've done that. Well, I mean, most
Guns
of
have
them you
recoil.
can.
You're
Most of it-
absolutely right. You got.
yeah.
I mean,
I
we
think
are
you
looking at a
can.
dev thing, aren't we? So they could
Yeah,
have
it's true. They have
much
don't
more
they have
options.
like much more control.
They have some,
Yeah.
they have like spectator. That's what they did.
I
with
mean, it's
spectator
possible that
cameras.
it's not the screen shake. It's possible that the person who recorded this intentionally did like a little camera move every time they fired the gun.
Or let me also add this. Like maybe post production just added it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe
A
it's
bit of
possible.
drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The world of editing. Okay, I'm gonna go
I have a
back.
question about this actually.
About what?
If very,
Edit?
very quickly. No.
This-
They seem to watching this. They flick through the achievements so quickly. Do you think that's going to be faster switching? Do you think there's going to be a reduced cooldown?
Not
Or is
I don't
it
think
just
so.
the
I think-
aesthetic?
It
Well,
might
because
just
there's no new
be
traits.
Yeah, it might just be that
So-
they took Weaver or something.
Yeah,
That is quick.
maybe they're
You're
trying to
right.
weave self. But no, I think they probably just cut it together. Like they
But
just wanted the preview to be
that's
short. I don't think that it's.
interesting.
I don't think that's the actual time frame of them
I mean-
swapping attunements.
I don't know because there's no cut, and it's during the.
Well, there's lots of different camera movements. There's
No,
lots of different cuts here.
When they've got the not
Oh.
when they not when they.
You're
Yeah,
right,
it's gotta be
yeah,
weave
I
self.
see that.
I think
They-
that's Weave self.
They come up, and then it looks like there's the fourth one, but is every
Wait.
ability different, like color? Yeah,
Play it-
look, fire.
Play it again because they talked about Weaver specifically with pistol, and if you are, there's air.
Yeah.
I don't know because they talk about with Weaver if you don't have
And you send all
if you
of
don't
them.
have either orb, like if you're on fire water and you have no orbs,
It does both.
casting one of the skill would create both orbs at the same
Yeah,
time, and I don't
but in
see
this,
that happening here.
They each came up individually, and it was every 2 seconds, which means it's definitely unravel and weave self.
Mm.
Okay.
They used
Yeah,
unravel
it
and
just
weave
seems
self so
so
that they can do
quick.
all four every 2 seconds. They do
We
one.
might have to restart the stream as it looks like my connection is dropping.
Oh no!
That's not good.
No.
Well, I guess we'll do the weapons another day.
Let me just check the speed.
Oh no.
It might just be that I need to
Do
reset it.
it next week because I'm not here. I mean, totally, we should do it when I'm here.
Wait a minute, is it still going?
Yukon says there's weave self and the stance that turns Weaver off. Yeah,
Oh,
because
my
it's also
upload is going down. That's interesting. Not sure why.
I
Goofy.
think your neighbor finished their shower and is now downloading something next door.
Could be it.
Oh,
Could be.
Yeah, we may have to stop. This is okay. Can anyone in the stream know what's going on at all?
I'm in the stream. What are
I'm
you
watching
talking
the
about?
stream.
Is it
Yeah.
like going okay? Like, or is it like?
Oh yeah, it's looking great. Looks great.
So we continue?
It looks smoother now. Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. Seems okay.
Are you sure? I'm gonna go back to it. It's just really laggy.
There were definitely laggy parts, but it looks okay now, I think.
Chat, wakey. Hello. Anyone? Need chat to like say something as well because hello. You can tell us.
I think it's
Don't
very
get
far.
to it.
What the problem right now is that it's very far behind time.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So no
okay.
one's going to be able to know anyway. I'm still losing frames as
Oh,
well,
dear.
so I may just stop it. It's been steady. for a
Brindle
minute.
says stream works. It's been steady for a bit. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah, okay.
All right, looks like it's fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a 20-second delay. It looks like almost.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a while.
Yeah, no, it's still cutting up a lot, so we won't risk it. We'll end there. I think we'll end there with the early weapon, and we'll come back and we'll talk about, maybe we'll play the weapons together. I don't know. Maybe next week. 'Cause, wait, when is it out? On Monday, right?
Beta is Tuesday, I think.
Yeah.
It's the 20th to the 1st, I want to say.
Okay, cool. We'll just do it next time because, yeah, I think it's breaking up too much. I'm sorry if you're watching the VOD and it's starting to get a little bit messy there. It's all good. Oh, we're gonna end it there, and we're gonna have to do a quick intro because my connection is just getting worse.
Oh man.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry. I feel bad.
It's okay. We'll talk about the weapons when the beta is going on.
Yeah,
we'll
I mean, then we
next
can
one.
also play around with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, people, thank you so much for watching the LightBringers podcast with a short outro because I'm losing connection and everyone hates me, and that's fine. Okay, I get it. Twitch.tv/Jebro. Hopefully every Friday. Not every Friday though. Christmas is round the bend, so it won't be every week, but it'll be here for a fair few times. We've only got a couple of shows left to the end of the year. It's been a pleasure so far. !podcast in the chat if you want to see it. A link live in the chat to go and watch past episodes. Otherwise, you can see them on YouTube, on Spotify, or anywhere else. Just Google LightBringers Podcast. They're being a bit slow coming out on Spotify, but they should be up to date this week. Think also, if you do want to join the guild, make sure you hang out and in the description and click the link and go fill out that stuff. We'll get you invited. Otherwise, Astro Legend, Boots, and Fornex, who wants to start quickly with their outro? Tell us what you do, how you do it, and we'll be on our merry way.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Astro Legend. I am on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, all under the same name. Feel free to Google me there. I do daily lore on Twitter. I stream Thursday and Friday nights with some high-end content, training raids and whatnot. And I put out YouTube every so often.
Lovely. Great to have you here, Astro. Sorry that we have had technical problems towards the end.
It's all right. Thanks for having me.
Boots says what you do.
You can find me on YouTube at World of Enders. I've been cracking along through all of the adventures. I've only got, so I got stuff uploaded up until December 24th, but in real life, I've only got the Icebrood Saga, and then End of Dragons, and then the Beetle races left to do. And so I gotta do them. Yeah.
Okay.
And then is Boots Bad Builds coming back?
I think so. Probably. If I think of something. Otherwise, I'm going to take a break.
Fair play. Well, I mean,
Got lots of new
maybe
weapons to make bad builds with.
yeah, maybe with the weapons, you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
And then last but certainly not least, Fornex, tell us all the things.
Hey, I'm Fornex, the Crichton Herald. I make content over on YouTube. Do check out my stuff. If you're looking for all the loot for this release, which there's quite a bit of it actually, that certainly wasn't an area where we got duped in this quarterly release. There's a video out on my channel now if you want to see how to unlock it all. It's rather lovely. If you like Abattoir and Tentacle Chic, yes.
Wicked.
Who doesn't like
Everyone-
Avatar and Tentacle Chic?
Exactly.
Tentacle Chic is my favorite, for sure.
Yeah.
Everyone, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube video, review the things. We will see you next time on the LightBringers Podcast. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving if you celebrate in America. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great weekend, week, night, day, all the things. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.